Welcome back from the break, and you are watching the Homeowners Show, proudly brought to you by First National Bank Ghana and also supported by CBC Properties. Now, just before we touch on what we are looking at this afternoon, First National Bank Ghana says last year, the bank helped many Ghanaians to become homeowners through the Year of Home Ownership, YOHO initiative. Now, this year, they are making it easier for you to build that property to your taste and complete the housing project you started. Through the Build Up 2022 initiative, everyone who applies for a home construction loan gets up to 1.5% discount on your interest rate. Now, don't miss out on Build Up 2022. Speak to First National Bank's experienced team of home loan consultants today to discover more help. You can call us on 0242 435 050 or 0800 770 522 to get started. First National Bank, how can we help you? Now, are you a homeowner who requires financial assistance to meet other pressing needs? Well, First National Bank can help you unlock the value in your house by releasing equity in your property to finance your business, fund your child's education abroad, or any other need. Speak to First National Bank's experienced team of home loan consultants today to discover more help. You can call us on 0242 435 050 or 0800 770 522 to get started. First National Bank, how can we help you? Well, so you are welcome back to the show this afternoon, and we are looking at an interesting aspect of this particular space that we bore you with every Sunday afternoon. Now, this afternoon we're talking about home insurance, but before we do that, there is a book that would have to look at, a book review. It's the title of this book is Insurance Implications of Market Fires in Ghana, and the author is Elijah Owusu Ajiman. He's the MD of Iris Management, the general manager of Iris Management, and he happens to be our guest here this afternoon as well. So we are privileged to have you, and we are glad that you could make it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Michael. I'm glad to be here.
Fantastic.
This afternoon.
Fantastic. Now, this book we're looking at here, I mean, I hear that it has won an award or two along the way. Now, what really inspired you, or what got you really started on writing this book? I mean, for any book author, something must trigger that flow of juices to really put down what you have in your mind onto text. So what really motivated you?
Okay, once again, Michael, thank you. And then good afternoon to our cherished viewers and our listeners. Just as we know, market fires occurring in various markets in Ghana is virtually becoming a perennial development. In most instances, when market fires occur, concerned institutions, individuals, and of course the general public even ask one basic question: whether the vendors had any form of insurance to provide the kind of safety net they would ordinarily require because of the financial distress they go through when there are fires. Also, there have been instances even concerned individuals and citizens call on the government to provide some form of compensation to the affected market vendors. So as a concerned citizen, and of course, as an insurance practitioner, I thought through appropriate solutions that the market players can actually think through to provide a needed insurance solution, to support the market vendors and of course all the stakeholders. So it was out of the need for us to think through a possible insurance solution, which of course, because it is a risk that is crystallizing. Therefore, as insurance players, I felt there was that need for us to think through, and of course, the only way I felt it would be more appropriate to communicate the solution was through the publication of this book. Yes.
Fantastic. Yeah. So if I may know, which are these awards that it has won? Because I mean, this must have cost you some sleepless nights. I mean, trying to put everything together into the form of this book. I'm sure there was a lot of work really put together. But it's really gratifying to note and fulfilling for you as an author that it's chalked an award or two You probably want to talk a little bit about that.
All right, okay. So I wish to actually admit that this is my maiden book.
Oh, fantastic.
And then the book has so far won 1 award.
Okay.
In June this year, the African Insurance Organization, 2022 Book Award panel had the opportunity to review this book. And of course, I presented it to the award committee. And then the book actually won the first runner-up prize in Kenya.
Wow.
In June.
Okay.
And of course, we are hoping for more awards.
Definitely.
But so far, within the insurance fraternity, within the African insurance market, by God's grace, we have won 1 award. Yeah.
I'm very sure this will be the beginning of many more to come in.
Yes.
Congratulations. But I'm sure you might have hinted or touched a bit on that in your opening statement, about when I asked you about the motivation and what really triggered the writing of this book. But I'm sure you want to stress a bit further when I ask you that how relevant is a book like this to our current situation as a country?
Okay. All right. So statistics from the Ghana National Fire Service in respect of market fire trends from the year 2015 to 2020 indicate that there were 15 major and of course recorded market fires in the country. And 2015, 2016, there were not any market fires, as in the actual report. Probably there were others elsewhere, but per the report.
Yeah.
But between 2017 and 2020, cumulatively, there were 15 recorded market fires. And just as you know, usually when market fires occur, we call on the government to support. The market vendors also call on other NGOs and other well-meaning Ghanaians and the public to come and support. But usually you realize that they don't have insurance. There is no insurance for most of them. And I also realized that per the risk appetite levels of some of the players, of course, and the players, I mean insurance, players, insurance companies, and of course, insurance intermediaries, some don't really have much appetite because the dangers in terms of risk management practices being implemented by some of the vendors don't appear attractive for the risks to be, of course, within the level some insurers would want to underwrite or accept. So I thought through the problem, and I thought the problem needed a microscopic attention, as in we practitioners looking at how best we could come up with a solution. And this particular write-up proposes a practical insurance solution, which I call the market stall insurance decision-making model. The model that I believe is a customized one for the Ghanaian market, where we look at the 3 key tripartite parties. And the key tripartite parties, we are talking of the government, insurers, and the market vendors. And interestingly, I captured it in the form of a Venn diagram. So we have intersecting rules between the market vendors and the government, as in when they meet, when deliberations are to be done, what are the roles each of these players needs to play. We have individual rules. The government has a rule, the market vendors have a rule, insurers also have a rule, and we have intersecting rules that they need to observe and then discuss and implement. And then we have the ideal situation where the interests of all the 3 parties come into the right balance, say that the interest of the insurers, of course, is to underwrite the risk and to ensure the business is also a profitable one, because as the insurance cover is supposed to assist you in your time of need, it is also supposed to support the insurance company in terms of the underwriting decisions to be able to, of course, get the adequate premiums, invest, and to make the business a profitable one, to make the business sustainable. We are looking at the interest of the market vendors. Their interest really, though they want the cover, their major interest is to incur premium costs at the least minimum, or at a very minimal rate, so that they don't need to incur so much. And of course, when risk assessments are done, to have an appreciation of the risk exposures, usually any given insurer or underwriter want to recommend some key risk improvement measures, which sometimes may come with additional cost to the vendors or the association.
Yeah.
You know, so the vendors actually, of course, every business person wants to minimize cost and then maximize benefits. All right. And then the interest of the government also lies similarly with that of the vendors, because the government would also want to support in a way, but the government also look at the cost.
Yeah.
But the ideal situation is where the interest of the market vendors, insurers, all right, and then the government are well aligned, where they all decide that we all have our individual interest, but let's come together. So in the Venn diagram, you see it is illustrated with the point D. That is the ideal situation.
Okay.
And I think it is something that can actually be done if we decide to deliberate on it.
Yeah.
You know, so
I mean,
it is something that actually can be done.
So it's, I mean, clearly, I mean, there has to be a balance. Yeah. No particular interest should supersede the other if we really want to achieve the right, or to achieve every interest group to achieve what they really want. Yeah. Or, for the sake of development, so to speak, because insurance also plays a very key role in national development. Yeah. I mean, I am no expert on insurance, but listening to you talk and having looked at some of the chapters of the book, this could probably, just saying this from the top of my head, this probably could serve as probably a handbook or probably maybe a textbook even in the how do you call the insurance schools? Yes. For them, for students to use or prospective insurers to use in their training. Have you made any attempts to make sure that this wonderful information captured in this book gets to these schools and possibly even churches and institutions, homes? I mean, where can people get copies to buy? How can people reach?
Okay. All right. So currently, I must also indicate that the book was just launched last Thursday on the 8th of September. Arrangements have been done to ensure we collaborate with the key learning institutions, the universities, the insurance training colleges, and of course, even we are looking at having a discussion with authorities at the Ghana National Fire Service, because it's not just about insurance. The book delves deeply into even fires. Though it is not a handbook on fires, the chapter 3 is basically about fires, to the extent that the technicalities in fire have been well explained and clarified. You know, so currently we are in the process of ensuring that we get the various institutions to get their code. But I must indicate that at the launch, we had representatives from the Ghana, the industry, the Ghanaian industry, the Chartered Insurance Institute of Ghana. We had reps from there who actually gave assurance that they want copies. We had assurance from the Insurance Broker Association of Ghana. Definitely, we will also make sure that they get copies. You know, the Ghana Insurance College also, we are actually yet to reach out. But we hope that in no time, even the University of Ghana Business School and then other universities which run insurance-related programs, we definitely will make sure that we get the copies for them. And of course, because we are living in a digital world, plans are actually afoot to ensure that we get the books also online, so that, of course, internationally, you know, any person with a passion or interest to know more about this particular publication can access it.
Amazing. That's great, and I can only wish you the very best, which leads us into the next part of our conversation, where we talk a bit more about other aspects of the insurance. I mean, this book particularly talks about fires, market fires and all that, but there are other aspects too, which, like you rightly mentioned, in particular chapters, chapter 3, I believe, and I'm sure even in other chapters as we go along, tell us about other aspects of insurance. We'll be looking at home insurance today, but earlier you made a point about when investigations are done, usually after major fires, I mean commercial properties and maybe the markets and all that, it's usually found out that a lot of these property owners don't have any insurance cover for these things. Now, looking at, I think, chapter 8, page 111, there's something about compulsory fire insurance here. Now, it says that just permit me to read just a bit of it. Fire insurance for private commercial buildings was made compulsory by the Insurance Act, Act 724 of 2006. The Insurance Act, Act 1061, 2021, now makes fire insurance compulsory for both private and public commercial buildings. The Insurance Act, Act 1061, 2021, makes it compulsory for private and public commercial buildings already constructed or under construction to have a cover against the hazards of collapse, fire, earthquake, storm, or flood, and cover to provide indemnity against the liability of the owner or occupier of the commercial building for loss or damage caused to any person using the premises. Now, looking at this, if it's compulsory, how come that a lot of these properties, for want of a better expression, get away with not having their properties insured?
Okay, so in respect of the compulsory insurances, mainly compulsory fire and public liability for commercial buildings, you know, the Act 724 of 2006 was actually repealed. Now we have a new act, that is Act 1061 of 2021. Okay, so since 2006, we have had a compulsory fire insurance and a public liability regime for commercial buildings, and then the former act defined a commercial building as a privately owned building where members of the public have ingress or egress, as in entry, whether you entering the premises or exiting the premises for any commercial purpose, which could be recreational, educational, you know, or medical, you know, kind of, you know, activity. Now the new act widens it to include all commercial premises, and therefore we are talking about the premises that are in both the public and the private sectors. And I'm sure you might have probably gotten to know of instances where the task force, we have a task force that is made up of officials from the Ghana National Fire Service, the Police Service, and then National Insurance Commission, which sometimes go out to inspect commercial properties to ensure compliance. And those who, of course, have not complied or have probably not taken any adequate steps to comply, they serve them letters and insist that they actually comply with the insurance, you know, provision. Now, of course, in the system, you can still find commercial properties that do not have insurance, and the Act specifies that you should also get the insurance certificate. So the fire insurance certificate is supposed to be displayed openly for people to see that indeed the institution have complied with the compulsory fire insurance. So, of course, once people get access to your premises for a commercial, you know, transaction, and then there is fire, all right, or there is an accidental damage, you know, people may lose their lives. And you know, in this country, there have been instances, innocent, lives have been lost, you know, due to accidental happenings. And once you invite, you know, members of the public to your premises, once they step their foot in there, you, the owner, you have, or the occupier, you have a responsibility to ensure their safety. If by reason of any accidental happening, there is an injury or death, or the person we invited, or the person who came to your premises because of your business, of course, the person is there with the intention to transact a business with you, and then there is an accidental damage to the person's property, of course, excluding motor vehicle, because motor vehicles are supposed to have their own specific insurances. The onus is not on you as the owner or the occupier or the one who invited them into the premises for that commercial activity to ensure there's some form of safety. And if the unfortunate happens, how would they be compensated? Okay, so the rationale is to ensure that the burden of the event occurring to the innocent victim do not fall on the government. You know, and because we invited them there. And unfortunately, a lot of institutions are yet to comply with the provisions of the Act. And we have had occasions where, after the task force visits, you know, such institutions, some of us, we pick the opportunity to even follow up to ensure that, of course, the authorities, you know, decide to, you know, get the policy in force. But I think we are yet to see some traction
100%.
in that regard.
Okay.
Yes, we are yet to see
100%
it.
compliance.
Though I must also say some have required, but I think the majority are yet to comply with the provision.
I don't know what this is really down to, whether it is a lack of education or is this clearly a lack of will as a result of how much they really have to pay. But you may have the liberty to touch on that. But this particular act in question refers to commercial, public or commercial properties. What about home or residential property? Are there any provisions really for that? And maybe you might want to go a bit more into that and talk about what a typical home insurance covers.
Okay, so primarily concerning the Act, there are some compulsory insurances. So the second schedule of the new Insurance Act 1061 of 2021 makes mention of the compulsory insurances in Ghana, which include, of course, we have the motor, which is already compulsory. We have public liability for commercial properties. We have the compulsory fire for commercial properties. And we have professional indemnity for professionals. So if you're a professional accountant, a professional lawyer, a professional architect, by the law, you are supposed to have a professional indemnity to cater for your act of negligence, all right? Okay, but for home, the Act has or didn't make any specific provision that it must necessarily or by compulsion be insured. So you, the homeowner, you have the option, because you have money to invest your resources into the construction of the home. However, we advise that, just as we know, it costs a fortune to put up such a structure, and therefore the property also needs to be insured. All right. For
your own good?
Yes, for your own good, yeah.
Are there any other particular areas that maybe might, I mean, viewers out there might need some education talking about the home, yes, a homeowner's policy?
Okay, all right. So basically, when we talk of home insurance, we are talking of insurance protection for your building or content, or combination of the buildings and the content, depending on your circumstance. Let me explain further. So with the building, we are talking of course, the actual structure, the fabric of the building or the structure, which also includes permanent fittings and fixtures, including your fitted kitchen, your fitted wardrobe, fitted appliances within the structure. And then, of course, outbuildings. The outbuildings may include your sheds, your garages, and even going beyond that, if you have swimming pool, so the structures, including the fence wall, so just the structure, all right, that's for the building. But when you're talking of the content, we are talking of the household goods, okay, your personal belongings, items that you can easily move about if you are moving house, including your TV set, including your digital camera, your laptop, items you can easily move along.
Okay.
All right, they are the content, but depending on your circumstance, so example, if you are the tenant, naturally it means you don't own the building.
Yes.
The landlord or the landlady is there. So your interest will be to insure your content, and of course, every individual owns some form of content. At least the furniture is there, and other items which you own can also be insured. And also for the landlords and the landladies, naturally, they have insurable interest. They have some financial interest in the structure, so they need to also insure. However, I must state that depending if you are a tenant, usually there will be a lease, or let me say a rent agreement.
Yes.
Depending on the insuring condition of the lease, let's say if you give me the opportunity to come and rent your apartment, you have a contract. The contract, if it is specified that you, the landlord, you are supposed to insure the structure or your property, that is fine. But you could also have an agreement that will specify that the tenant is supposed to arrange the insurance cover. It depends on how the lease, the agreement is drafted. So you, the tenant, though you don't own the building, you have paid maybe 5 years rent, you have insurable interest in the building, because if something happens, it means the next 4 or 5 years, you may not have the opportunity to enjoy the use of the facility.
Yeah.
So you may also insure, but of course in the joint names of yourself and then the owner, because if something happens to the structure and it is attributed to your negligence, you must know that if, of course, the landlady or the landlord decides to pursue the case in court for your negligence leading to the damage to the structure,
Yeah.
it means definitely you need to find a way to cough up substantial funds to reinstate the damaged structure that has occurred due to your negligence. So the renter may have to have an arrangement with the landlord or the landlady to see who is supposed to bear the responsibility for the building. But of course, for your content, you have the interest in it. Of course, we call it financial interest or the insurable interest. We need to insure it. And in terms of the expenses involved, it's not that much.
I'm really amazed here, and it's quite interesting. I just wonder how many of us, I mean, looking at both landlord, landlady, and then the tenant, I mean, how many are really appraised of this particular aspect, really. And I wonder whether there are many of such tenancy agreements that have that really
insurance condition.
Enshrined.
It should be there.
Yeah.
It should be there because at the end of the day, once you lease out or you rent out your facility, you must know that the occupant is coming with some form of risk. Sometimes you, the landlord or the landlady, you may not be there to see really what is happening. And if there is any unfortunate case of fire or any accidental happening, which may lead to loss or damage or destruction to the structure, the question is how would we be able to reinstate it? For you know, the fault may come from the tenant, but the question is that the tenant have the means to reinstate the building for you, or if it is the case that there is no insurance, then it means that you cannot fall on anything. So I would advise that in drafting the lease or the rent agreement, we can have that in there so that if there's any loss or damage that is even attributable to the tenant, there's some form of insurance. And once the tenant also pays some form of insurance rent or additional rent, which is supposed to cater for the insurance premium, and something happens and it is even the tenant's negligence that leads to the accidental fire, it's been tested in court. You know, Mark Rowlands, you know, versus Benny Ince in 1985 in UK, where the negligence of the tenant led to the destruction to the house by fire. All right, insurance paid the claim, and because it was the fault of the tenant, of course, by right of subrogation, where insurers have the right to step in the shoes of the insured and then recover the payout from the negligent party. All right, the case went there, and the court said once the tenant also contributed in premium payments, the tenant is deemed to be a joint insured. All right, so in suing the tenant, you're also suing yourself because you have insured the, yes. So we need to look at some of these things so that the surprises will be minimized. We need to look at it.
It's amazing. So probably, I mean, as a property owner, it's in probably your own interest that you engage maybe the services of a lawyer or an insurer or some expert.
You need to get you know, an insurance professional, especially if you get the opportunity to speak to any house insurance person, or most importantly, if you get the opportunity to speak to a broker. The insurance broker can assist. But of course, when it comes to the contracts, it's in the realms of our lawyer friends to assist in that regard. So
so in looking at, I mean, having a total overview of this home insurance, are there any exclusions or exemptions that one has to know?
Okay, so in making reference to the book, you know, there's one particular chapter that talks of the structure of a typical fire insurance contract. So for general insurance contract, basically we have a common structure, and one of the key areas you will find in most policy wordings are the exclusions. And primarily, I want to state that the exclusions are mainly grouped into 4. You can see so many of them, but I must say that the home insurance, before I come to the exclusions, the policy may be a named peril policy or an all-risk policy. Let me take the opportunity to just explain briefly. Named peril means that the policy is meant for specifically defined events like fire, flood, impact, hurricane, storm, and the like, defined. So if there's loss or damage or expense or destruction attributable to the named event, then the insurer is liable. But with the all risk, everything is covered once it occurs accidentally, and we mean something that occurs suddenly and without any expectation of it.
Okay.
And then, unless that event is clearly excluded, so once there's an exclusion or list of exclusions, and something happens and it falls under any of the exclusions, then it means you are not covered. That's for the all risk.
Okay.
All right. And now, coming back to the exclusion, so whether named peril cover or all risk cover will surely have some form of exclusions. As I said, the exclusions are mainly divided into 4. We have exclusions pertaining to specified property. So specified property, we are talking of properties or assets that have their own specialist or specific policies. Example, motor vehicle. Though you have home insurance, you have insured your structure, the contents and everything, the vehicle within the premises is not part of the cover you have, because the vehicle is supposed to have its own specific insurance, because it's meant for road use. Same for your motorbike.
Okay.
Okay, so that is one of the exclusions. So if you have your vehicle in the house, something happens and then it affects the vehicle. Though we have home insurance, the vehicle is an exclusion.
Okay.
And then we have exclusions pertaining to specific events. Okay, so the policy, most policies typically will not cover, loss or damage due to wear and tear, rust, corrosion, actions of vermin, fungi, gradual deterioration, because we say insurance is not a maintenance contract. So those events are also exclusions. And then we have exclusions, in respect of consequential losses. Okay, so example, due to the loss or damage to your house, you are not able to earn additional some rent.
Okay.
Because the property is in a state you cannot rent out. It's a consequential loss. Or maybe you were using your kitchen for some maybe part-time restaurant business where weekends you're able to take some orders and supply. And because of the damage or the destruction, you are not able to supply. So you are actually losing in that regard. That is also an exclusion. We have specific covers for them.
Yeah.
And then the last exclusion, we are talking of general exclusions. The general exclusion, we are talking of course, exclusions that even internationally are, applicable to policies like war, political violence, acts of terrorism. These issues are usually handled at the highest level of government.
Okay.
So for all the exclusions, as I said, we can just categorize them under these 4.
Okay.
No matter which exclusion, right, you will find them mainly under these 4.
We're being schooled here properly this afternoon on insurance, and thank you very much for really helping enlighten us on this particular topic. We'll be continuing the conversation after this break, and then of course we'll be opening the phone lines, and then also viewers can also send in their questions for you to answer if there is time. But before we do that, the Homeowners Show is proudly brought to you by the First National Bank Ghana and also supported by CBC Properties. Now, CBC Properties says, why do you have to buy a piece of land now? Well, as Anthony Trollope put it, and I quote, because land provides the highest returns, the greatest values, the least risks, and of course, it is the only thing that cannot fly away. Now is the time to own a land in Oyarefa, Pram, East Legon Hills, Adenta, Manfro, Shai Hills, Imensa, and so on. Call CBC Properties to schedule for a free site visit on 0303 935 313 or 0262 898 686. On their website, www.cbcghanalimited.com. You can follow CBC Properties also on social media at CBC Ghana Limited on Facebook and Twitter, at CBC Ghana on IG, and at CBC Properties on YouTube. So there you have it. We're going to step out for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we continue with the conversation right here on the Homeowners Show. Welcome back from the break. This is the Homeowners Show, proudly brought to you by the First National Bank Ghana and supported by CBC Properties. Now, Majel Enterprise is the pioneer in innovative building and construction materials with over 20 years of experience in Ghana. We supply notable brands like ERA, George Fisher Hakan Plastics, Pearson Firat Plastic, EMS Force, Interplast, Bosch Power Tools, Leo Pumps, and many more. Majel is also the sole distributor of cast products in Ghana. You can call Majel Enterprise for all your hardware supplies on 0207 672 965 or 0540 573 421. On social media, you can find Majel at Majel Enterprise. Locate Majel at Spintex Ecobank, Adogono Road, opposite the Shell station. Majel Enterprise, if it's not quality, it's not Majel. On to our next question, Ms. Osajiman. How much does the home insurance cost, and what are the factors that affects my premium?
Okay.
Or anyone's premium for that matter.
Thank you. In fact, insurance mainly thrives, okay, on what we call the principle of equivalence. Okay. The higher your risk, the higher the premium you pay.
Okay.
The lower your risk, the lower the premium you pay. And in trying to indicate the criteria for premium assessment, I wish to state that the value of the property you are bringing on board, as in the insurable value of the property, is key. And let me just address one issue before I respond to this question. In trying to give the value of your property as much as possible, let's try to ensure that the value is a true reflection of the cost. And I mean, if it is the building, you're talking of the road building cost, all right, for the structure. And the road building cost, we are looking at not just the structure, we are looking at the full road building cost, we are looking at debris removal, I will explain. We are looking at professional fees, all right. Say that if there is any loss or damage or destruction to the structure, aside the compensation or the amount required, the indemnity you need to get the building reinstated. What of if they say the total burden is raised down, all right, and you need to demolish the structure, clear the site, all right. So we are looking at the value of the building to include, okay, of course, the full rebuilding cost, debris removal, and the professional fees. All right. So we need to look at the value. The value really makes a lot of difference. And of course, the land, the value of the land is not part of the value of the building, because definitely once there's any loss or damage to the structure, the land is still there. All right. So we need to know the value of the building. And of course, if you are also insuring the contents, we need to know the value of the content. And of course, the kind of content you are even insuring. All right. And then the location of the property. Is it in a flood-prone area, or is in a zone that is deemed to be, you know, a good you know, area where incidents of, fires or floods do not occur very often.
Yeah. All
right. And then we're also looking at whether the proposer, in this case, the one making a request for the insurance cover, has put in place any form of risk improvement measures. So if within your burden, of course, you have put in the necessary, you know, risk management measures to include fire extinguishers, and your key people in the house or within the domestic dwelling have been trained in the use of the extinguishers. We have the sprinklers, we have alarm systems, you know. All these also contribute to the management of the risk, and we can have some discount for that. You know, so in terms of the criteria, we are looking at, of course, the value of the subject property we are proposing to be insured, and then the location to give an idea of where exactly the property is situated, and then the risk that attached to that particular area, and then you're looking at your risk improvement measures, and of course, the kind of item or the property you are insuring. And in this case, you are talking of home, domestic is for it's a private dwelling, apartment that we are looking at. All right. It shouldn't be the case where it is a private dwelling, but it's being used for a different purpose altogether. So all these things come into, the equation for the due consideration to be made to determine how much one needs to pay. But I wish to say that, in general, example, if you have a property, let's say a building worth 1 million Ghana cedis, and you decide to arrange a home insurance cover against fire, flood, impact, storm, and the like, annually, the 12 months period, you pay only 2,000 Ghana cedis.
Oh.
Only for the whole year.
I see.
And then assume you have content worth, say, 500,000 Ghana cedis for the whole year. Okay, you pay a little around 2,500 cedis for the whole year.
I see.
So sometimes there's this thinking that insurance is too prohibitive. It is not the case. It's something that is within the reach of most homeowners.
I'm really interested in this valuation bit because, when a professional valuer comes in, I think that they look at certain determinants.
Yeah.
Because you can say that as a home owner, you can say that, okay, I bought this land for 500,000 cedis or $500,000, and the building cost me X amount.
Much, yeah.
How? Is there any particular format in valuing a property? Okay,
so ideally, once there is a valuation report, that is something you can objectively rely on. But in most instances, you may not get the valuation report. And in making assessment of the worth of the property involved, usually it is within the knowledge of the owner.
Okay.
Where the person put up the structure, and then he knows how much he or she spent in putting up the structure. However, if there is a valuation report, that is the ideal thing. And there have been instances, some players would request that you get a valuation report, at least a valuation report that is within 2 years or 3 years, that can actually assist. And I must also say that, just as I indicated that once your risk is high, and of course the risk even comes with the value you are bringing on board, because if my value in the insurance pool is 500,000, yours is 5 million, your risk is a higher one. All right, so you have to pay more premiums. But one thing is, sometimes, because of course every person would want to make an economic decision, a decision to rationalize, a decision to minimize cost, knowing very well that your asset is worth, say, 5 million, and 5 million you end up paying more. One can say, oh, okay, then value it at 2 million cedis.
Okay.
All right. Okay, let's say it's 5 million and you are even valuing it for 2.5 million. Effectively, what it means is that you have insured 50% of the value of your building.
Not the total value.
You get it?
Yes.
So when there is any loss or damage, and then of course you file a claim, the settlement will be proportionately reduced by the degree of your underinsurance, because you did not insure the 100% value of the building.
Okay.
So the building was worth 5 million cedis.
But then you insured
it for 2.5 million cedis to pay a lower premium. But probably sometimes it's not something that was within your contemplation or your knowledge. That is why it is always good to have a fair view of the worth, the real building cost of what you are insuring. It's not just the insurance. We need to ensure that the value we are assigning to the item we are insuring is a true reflection of the current market.
But quickly, let me just find out. I mean, we're running out of time here, but considering what you've just said, is there any way possible to make savings on my insurance policy? I mean, you may not have given a true reflection of the value of the property, but is there any way that I can save on my insurance policy?
Of course.
Yeah.
So if you have a good insurance history, that could give an idea of, probably some good risk management improvement measures you have put in place at your residence.
Okay.
So if you have fire extinguishers within the structure, and then you have your people, or of course you have made attempt to get them trained in their use. Okay, you have adequate, security within the structure. All these things come into play. And your claims history can also give an idea as to, what really has been your risk management trend over the past years. That can also get you some good rating from the insurers. Okay. So once you put in place the right, risk improvement measures, you know, you may be able to get some a form of savings.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Like I said, we are almost out of time
Yeah.
here, but then we have viewers sending in some contributions, some questions and all that. Let me see if I can go through many of them before we wrap up. Now, good afternoon. Roy is my name at Amasaman. Find out if... Yes, find out if Elijah could give us the best insurance company, but that would be a difficult one, I don't know. How much could be the average premium for a 3-bedroom house for both the structure and its contents? For me, I don't want to have anything doing, oh, okay, I'm not going to mention it. He's mentioned a particular insurance company, but he wants to find out whether he can give us a good insurance company to deal with and how much would be the average premium for a 3-bedroom house for both the structure and its contents.
All right, so I must say that the National Insurance Commission, being the regulator of the insurance market in Ghana, has a list of all certified and approved and insurers in good standing on their list. And of course, any insurer currently operating on the market means that they are in good standing with the Insurance Commission. So I can say that all the companies you see on the list are really good.
Okay.
And then in terms of the structure, the 3-bedroom structure, and then with contents, he might want to advise on the rebuilding cost of the structure and then the value of the content. So sometimes the client may not be able to give detailed description of the various items that constitute the content. But I think he will have an idea of the total value of the content. But there's something I want to add, if you don't mind.
Very quickly.
On the content,
yes.
If you state my content is say 100,000 cedis, all right? And then you are not able to provide a detailed list of the content with their respective replacement values. Usually what will happen is that the insurance contract, the policy will come with what we call single article limit. Okay. It could be say 10% of the value of content. What it means is that for any single article, like television set, if it's destroyed, the maximum you can claim is the 10% of the total sum insured or the value for the content in this case. You know, so of course, I think we can pick it up from here. Of course, then we can discuss further to see how best we can assess in that regard. But if you have the evaluation report, that can also help. Okay, all right.
It will be very important that one day we do a more detailed program on claims. Home ownership claims one day. So this is a good one for my producer to see here. But a few messages coming up. I'm Fritz Bediako from Adina. Thumbs up to you, Elijah. Very insightful program. Keep it up. They're very happy with the contributions. Now, this also says, good afternoon, Mike. It's really an insightful and revealing discussion on insurance. I've been educated today. Your guest is brilliant, from Osikeni at Takrady. So, yeah, these are some contributions from our viewers. Time now to do tidbits on the program now. Tidbits for you out there. I'm sure that you've been waiting a lot for these tidbits to come your way this afternoon. Now, how to get your home construction loan? Do you require financial support to build a residential property on your plot of land? Well, speak to First National Bank to help you build to your specifications and or complete that housing project you already started. The home construction loan gives you funds to build your property and repay within a maximum period of 20 years. Interest rate can be fixed or variable. To qualify for a home construction loan, the property must be for residential use. Borrower must provide proof of ownership of the land, evidenced by land title certificate, fully registered indenture, or any other document acceptable to First National Bank. You can call 0242 435 050 or 0800 770 522 to get started, and that is how you can get your home construction loan. Well, it's been an interesting afternoon here, having you join us for the discussion this afternoon, and we are glad that we came your way. And if you want anything like I'm wearing here, Sub-Saharan is your best bet. Make sure that you contact them, and then you get great shirts. Now, great shirts are worn by great men with integrity. That's the philosophy behind Sub-Saharan Fashion brand. Sub-Saharan Fashion Our choice of fabric is inspired by our culture and heritage. The temperament of our clients contribute to the choice of fabric and colors to use. At the end, we create an art piece which is custom made for one person only. If you want to patronize the brand reserved for men with integrity, you can call or WhatsApp Sami on 0264017512 for your orders. On social media, find them at Sub-Saharan Fashion. Well, it's been great coming your way, and we've enjoyed the schooling here by Elijah Owusu-Agyeman. Thank you so much for coming through, and we hope to have you again on yet another aspect of insurance. We've been very happy having you here. Make sure that you make a date with us same time next Sunday for another piece of the Homeowner Show. Bye for now.